I'm working on a mosaic fruit basket for a backsplash for a client's kitchen, and it goes over the stove. And so I make these projects in my studio. I adhere them temporarily to a substrate, and then I bring them to the client's house and install them.
Substrate?
Inside. Yeah, a substrate like a paper facing on it to hold the whole mosaic together, so when I mortar it in, then I can remove the paper and the mosaic sticks. So it's just a way to transfer it from my working surface onto the final surface without losing all the puzzle pieces. So, and I'm working with two different kinds of glass. I'm working with Smalti, which is an Italian kiln-fired enameled glass. It comes to me like this. We buy it by the pound in a whole range of colors, as you can see. So that's the Italian version. And then there's a Mexican Smalti, which I use a lot. It's got two different colors, one on each side. So one color that comes out of the kiln and dries first discolors to a different color than the backside. So with every pound of Smalti, you get two different textures and two different surfaces. That's the same color of glass. So I buy this from Cuernavaca, Mexico. Buy it by the pound, and each color is for its own purposes. But what I'm working on here is fruit, roses, pears, and then I did this little detail here, which is a micro mosaic. It's a mosaic made in clay with little tiny threads of glass that are embedded like points into the clay, and then the surface is flattened, so you can get a lot of detail. It's what they used to make the Italian jewelry out of. You've seen them sometimes, and really fine little portraits and architectural renderings of Rome. They're all done with this filati technique of pulled string melted glass and then stuck in one piece at a time with a tweezer, my favorite tool. You basically take one of a little handful of these and you melt them in a little ladle that looks like a gravy ladle or something. You melt them with a blowtorch, and then with the pliers you pull the liquid or the string out into very thin threads. So these can be broken. I'll just break them with my hand, but normally I break them with a little file. And the way glass is, if you create a score line or a line of tension by scratching it, it will always break along that line. So what I do is I take a little tiny triangular file and I score it, and then I'm able to snap it. And so then I take a piece like this with the tweezer and embed it into the clay vertically. So what you're seeing is only that little tiny line of color, but when you put them all together and line them up, it makes a mosaic effect. So it's very time consuming, and it's why I need to wear glasses now. But I really enjoy it because it's so delicate and you can get really beautiful details, and if you spend the time you can put together. Here's an example of a finished piece. This is Skyline of Venice. Very subtle, but just Venice in the shadows. And each one of these little points of color is a tiny little string of glass that's embedded in the clay and then packed in there. You have to have a certain kind of temperament. I know a lot of people who do not have the patience. So I enjoy the repetitive sort of Zen aspect of it. I have a good TV with a DVR on it so I can watch movies and independent film channel while I'm working. It's funny because a piece like this, this is like a man's size shirt. It's called the night shirt. And it has a veneer of mosaic on it that each piece of glass is probably only a 1/4 inch square and maybe 1/8 of an inch thick. And all of them were applied with this little tweezers and cut with this little cutting tool. It's a carbide nipper that just squeezes and fractures the glass into whatever size piece I want. It took me over a month to make this, but I really enjoyed that part of it because that's what distinguishes my work from a lot of other people's. Is it's not slapdash, it's very time consuming, and it takes a lot of patience, and it's sort of my little end of the market because not a lot of people are crazy enough to do what I do. So that, you know, if you have the patience to do it, you can come up with something really unique and distinctive. But if you just are after the finished product, then you'll slap some things together and won't take the time to cut it properly and fit it all nicely together, and then you end up with not as great of a piece of work. So I like to take the time to make sure every piece is perfect. That's a perfectionist thing, but it's also why mosaic artists don't make a lot of money.
Because it takes so much time.
People are selling stocks in volume and making lots of zeros every day when the market turns over, and I'm working with a tweezer. So that's my lot in life, but I really enjoy it, and people enjoy my work, so we're both happy. So.